All right, we want to bring in another calming voice for you. Dr. Raymond Hamdan is a clinical and forensic psychologist currently working up the highway from where we are in Dubai. He has an extensive background offering expert testimony on profiling Islamic fundamentalism and terrorism, among his many other credentials. Thank you for joining us today on Prism. First, I just want to ask, what explains Islamophobia and other stereotypes people carry? Because Christian terrorists in the US, like Timothy McVeigh, who was behind the Oklahoma City bombing, never seem to become representative of Christians or terrorists. Why is that?
Islamophobia is a definition that's seen as a social anxiety, not necessarily that of clinical psychology. When we look at things like Islamophobia, we're looking at prejudice. Prejudice is to prejudge. People have an irrational fear and dread of Muslims or Islam at large. It's unfortunate that Islam is being picked on, as before Christians were picked on, Jews were picked on, the Polish and other people were picked on throughout centuries. It just happens to be Islam that's picked on right now. And the fear is that there are enough people in the Islamic faith who are behaving in a very radical, destructive fashion, claiming to represent Islam when they actually don't.
Now, Dr. Hamdan, you say it's irrational, but as we just saw in Susan Candiotti's piece, one woman says she understands these controversial comments made considering the climate Americans are in their efforts to fight terrorism. So how aware are we that we even carry inaccurate views?
Irrational is actually a psychological definition of the phobia, because to be afraid of all Muslims is very incorrect. Not all Muslims are terrorists any more than all Jews are when there was Erdogan, or the Christians who were bombing abortion clinics represented all Christians. So when we look at things like Islamophobia, we're looking at a fear that is irrational about Muslims and Islam at large.
Okay, so Dr. Hamdan, what do we do? How do we unravel those stereotypes so that the discussion isn't about the most politically correct way to talk about it, but instead about what's actually true?
What we have to do is we have to educate the public at large. Those of us from the West who have had an opportunity to live elsewhere in the world, and Americans alone are up to 10 million people who actually live abroad. We have an opportunity to go back home and educate. The educational system under our government, whether it's a European government or the government of Americas, can also offer education in showing the difference between what is Muslim, what is Christian, what is Jewish, and that there are differences between Arabs, Pakistanis, Turkish, and that not all people because of religion are terrorists any more than all people because of their politics are terrorists. Education is the cornerstone of society, and it's essential that people learn to take different opinions. Unfortunately, we live in a world today where maybe as much as 86% of the population doesn't even question what they hear on television or read in the newspaper. That's one thing. The other thing is that the silent majority, the people who are the innocent people, need to take an opportunity to educate the population, to tell them that not all people are bad if there's a few from a particular group that choose to do bad things.
Yeah, education definitely key, not just by the government, but for each of us to go beyond our own views and stereotypes. Dr. Raymond Hamdan, thanks for your time and your perspective joining us from our Dubai Bureau. Really appreciate it.